Hey guys, it's Jen with 2Ns. Today I'm going to show you how to dip with chunky glitter. It is a little bit trickier than regular dip powder, but it's definitely not hard once you know what you're doing. So I have two naked nails, but we are only going to do one. Before every manicure, I always start with my peel base. I use UNT, that's the brand that I use, and I get it from Amazon. I absolutely love it. It works really, really well for me. You may have to do some trial and error to see what works for you, how many layers, the thickness, and what have you. I had to definitely do some trial and error on my own, but I found that if I want to change my manicure out within about 4 days or so, one thick layer usually does the trick. If I want to change it out the next day, then I'm going to do two really thick layers. If I want it to last longer than 4 days, then I would do a really thin layer. So give it a try, figure out what works well for you, and then let me know in the comments. So you are going to want to make sure that your peel base is completely dry before you start dipping. You'll have problems with your application and problems trying to take them off. So the color that we're going to use today is BFF from Rocky Mountain Dip Powder. Love their dips. Love, love, love their dips. So the other color, Low and Flow, that's this purple color right here. It's what I have on my other fingers. I'm not going to do a tutorial on that today, but if you like it, like I said, it's called Low and Flow. It is a color changer, so it's purple, but when I stir it here, you'll see that it changes to turquoise. So it's a hot and cold, in case you're interested. Like I said, Rocky Mountain Dip Powder, their products are amazing, but that's what color this is. So pretty. And of course, I'll leave that information in the description box below. Alrighty, let's get started. Like I mentioned, glitter is just a little bit trickier than normal powder. It just doesn't want to lay flat. It doesn't go on as evenly a lot of times. And if you can see in there, there's a lot of chunky, big chunks. So when you dip your nail in there, it just doesn't lay flat. One big key trick to dipping with chunky glitter is using a cupcake liner. It will catch all of the extra glitter that falls and spills over, and I promise you, you will have glitter that falls and spills over. Definitely make sure that you stir it first. That's what I was doing there, was wiping off my stir stick. But stir your chunky glitter just like you would a regular dip powder, because you do want to make sure that those glitter pieces are evenly spread throughout the jar, because when you dip your finger in there, you don't want to just get one piece of chunk and then glitter on the other. So my peel base is dry. We are going to get started. But before getting started, tap the jar. When you tap the jar, it helps to bring those big pieces up to the top. You can kind of see those pieces coming up to the top, so that when you place your finger in there, it's an even coverage. Now I did say place your finger in there, and that's because we are going to place our finger in there instead of dipping, but we'll get to that. So start with a very thin layer of your base coat, whatever brand you choose. I'm using Double Dip. Just put a layer over your entire finger, just like you're going to dip regular. That sounded so weird. Just like you normally would if you were dipping, is what I meant. Hopefully that was clear. Just like when you're normally dipping, you want to put the base coat over your whole nail and get as close to your cuticle as you can get without getting any product on your skin. Once you have your first coat of base coat on your nail, then you take the jar that you've already prepared and you lay your finger flat on top. And you do this so that you can get even coverage. Because we've already prepared the jar and got the big chunky glitters at the top, they should go onto your nail first, so that there should be an even amount of chunky glitter on your nail. In theory, of course, in a perfect world. And just like normal, you tap your finger and get the excess powder off. And then you take either an orange stick or a toothpick and you clean your cuticles and get whatever extra stray hair you have on your hand. But clean your cuticles and clean them up so that you have nice crisp edges. That really makes a difference between an amazing manicure and just a meh manicure, is your cuticle lines. Once you get all of that excess powder off by tapping, then here is the trick. you want to get a plastic bag, a little plastic bag. You can use a sandwich bag. I got these little tiny guys from Amazon, of course, but just something that's plastic. And you take your finger and you place it on your nail, and you're basically flattening those glitter chunks, and you're making them lay flat on your nail. After you have flattened all of the chunky glitters, then you want to take your brush and you brush it, and you try to get all of the excess glitter and dust, and not dust, and powder that didn't stick to your nail off, just like normal. Now you don't have to use a plastic bag, but I will tell you, if you don't use a plastic bag, then you will get glue on your fingers. And when you're done with your manicure, you'll see it on your fingertips. I've done it. You can try it. You'll know what I mean once you do it, but I do not recommend it. Okay, so now we are ready for layer 2. We prep our jar again, so tap it to get those big chunks up, and then we take our base coat and we go in for layer 2. And as always, you want to make sure that you get as close to your cuticle as possible without getting too close and without getting on your skin. And you want to make sure too that you don't leave too much room between your cuticle and the nail either. This part of the process is very important, the liquid and the dipping, because this is going to determine how much filing you have to do. Now, after you use your base coat for the second layer, make sure you wipe your brush on a napkin or something so that you can get any of the extra glitter pieces off of your brush before you put it back into the jar and contaminate it. So for layer 2, you see we're doing the exact same thing, just placing our finger in the prepared jar and tapping it and getting all of the excess powder that did not stick on there. And then we clean up our cuticle line. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. The biggest trick, I think, the biggest key to dipping chunky glitter is flattening those pieces. So getting something plastic and making sure that all of the glitter pieces lay flat, because if you don't do that, when you go in with your clear coat and when you try to file it, you're going to have pieces that are sticking up every which way, and it's never going to buff smooth, and it's never going to look smooth either. So it's a very, very important step in dipping chunky glitter. It's a nifty little trick, if I do say so myself. And this powder is so pretty too. I was so impressed and so pleased when I tried it for the first time. Once you're satisfied with the glitter and how it looks on your finger, then you're going to notice you have glitter in your cupcake liner. This is why cupcake liners are amazing, because now you can just pour it into your glitter jar, and you're not wasting anything, and B, the mess is hardly anything because it all stayed in your glitter or in your cupcake liner. Now it's time for clear. Whenever you use a chunky glitter, you always want to encapsulate it in a clear powder. This is for many reasons, but the biggest reason is because you can then protect your design. Now, I like to pour clear into cupcake liner when I'm using glitter. The reason I do it this way instead of dipping my finger into the glitter jar is because I don't want to contaminate my entire jar of clear. So I pour some in a cupcake liner, and then I do the pour over method when I'm doing the clear layer. When I'm encapsulating it with the clear, then I just do the pour over method. There we go. Oh my goodness, that took forever to say. So do your layer of base coat. You want to make sure, again, of course, that you get as close to your cuticle as possible without going onto your skin. But you go far enough down that you're not missing any. And always, always, always wipe your brush. Now, when you pour the clear into a cupcake liner and you do the pour over, if you're not familiar with the pour over method, I have a tutorial actually right before this video, so go back and watch it. But you can watch me do it here too. It's very, very easy. You just pour the powder over your nail and then you tap off the excess, just like normal. And then always clean up your cuticles, because the difference between an amazing manicure and just a meh manicure is cleaned up cuticles. Wait a minute, have I said that before? I will say that in probably every video I ever do. Once you have your layer of clear on, then you want to activate it. So get your bottle of activator. Again, I'm using double dip. Make sure that you dust off any excess powder that's on your nails before you use your activator, because if you don't, you're going to have a gloopy, chunky, globby mess. I've done that before also. And here you can see where that color changing powder turned purple. So cool. The activator part is actually one of my favorite parts when I'm dipping my nails, because this is where you can kind of see it's closer to the end product. Obviously, as I'm sure you know, dip powder doesn't ever look the same as it does when it's done. Once your activator is dry, very important that you make sure the activator is dry also, because the activator is what hardens your nails. If you don't wait long enough, then your nails aren't going to be hard enough and you're going to try to file them and they're just going to smush together and fall apart. You're not going to be a happy camper. Usually about 2 minutes is long, so wait for 2 minutes to dry and then go in with a hand file. You can certainly take an e-file if you want also, maybe both, whatever you need to do to shape your nails. And then, so you're going to shape your nail, and then you're also going to go over the top cuticle area with a rounded kind of way so that you can make sure the powder at your cuticle didn't pool up, because that makes for some very, very chunky, thick nails. So you can see that I'm just trying to smoothen it out and make it just look soft and smooth. Rounder, that is the word I was looking for. I'm very clearly having a tough time talking tonight during this video. So anyways, you want to file around the cuticle area to try to make them round and smooth. Something you will notice with chunky glitter, or just glitter in general, when you file it, it's going to freak you out, because if you notice, it's a little discolored. It looks like you're filing away some color, which is one of the reasons that we encapsulate it with glitter. It is to, I'm sorry, with clear. It is to protect the glitter for when we are filing or buffing. So don't be afraid when you see your nail looking like this, just dusty and kind of white and powdery. So you can kind of see there where it's a little thick. Take the file and smooth it out. This is where maybe an e-file might be helpful, is to make it less thick at the top. But again, don't be afraid, because we did protect it with a layer of clear. I'm going to stop talking here for a little bit so that you can just watch. Except for I spoke too soon. I just want you to notice, see how I rub my finger with my thumb? That's how I can tell if it's smooth enough. So as I'm filing and buffing, I always just test it with my finger, with my thumb. Okay, now I'm going to stop talking. Oops, fumble-rooski. Once you're happy with the shape and the thickness of your nail, you don't have to dust it right now, but I just did. Then you're going to take your buffing block and you're going to polish the crap out of it. And this is definitely one of those cases where the more the better. The smoother your nail is, the smoother you get this, the more happy you're going to be, because you will fill glitter chunks if you don't polish it smooth enough or well enough. It will also take a lot of practice. So don't be mad if the first time you dip with chunky glitter, you can feel a piece of glitter sticking out that catches on something. It's going to take your practice. So don't be mad at yourself. Just keep doing it. Practice makes perfect. And also make sure to get underneath your nail and the side walls. Those often get overlooked and forgotten, and then you'll end up having a sharp edge or something that you see like that. Make sure you get underneath your nail. Very, very important, because those sharp edges will get you when you're least expecting it. Normally, I would either speed up the video or edit and cut some of this out, but I think it's important to see the whole process and see everything from start to finish. Oh, look at that glitter. It's so pretty. But by seeing the entire process and knowing exactly what it took me to get my nail to look the way that I wanted it to, I think is important. So you're stuck. You're going to have to watch all of it. You could certainly fast forward it on your own, though, if you want. Alrighty, once your nails are good to go and you like the shape and how smooth they are, then you want to go wash your hands. I use soap, but I always try to avoid getting soap on my nails. I like to use soap because I feel like the water doesn't get it all off. And now it is time for the activator. So this is our second round of activator. You always want to put 2 rounds of activator on. One before you file and then one after you file. Again, this is what hardens your nails, and you want to make sure that you put enough activator on that it goes through every layer that you have on. I'm going to show you a nifty little trick. I always have powder all over my bottles when I'm done, so I just take my brush and brush it off. This is a good little trick. And right here is the reason that I like to pour my clear into a cupcake liner, because there are a couple pieces of glitter in there. So now my entire bottle isn't ruined, just my little tiny amount in my cupcake liner. Bottle, jar. I find that I keep calling a bottle a jar and a jar a bottle, but whatever, I digress. So I am just cleaning up now while I'm waiting for the activator to dry. You want to wait at least 2 minutes. It is so very important that you let your activator dry. Reason number 1, obviously, is because you want your nails to harden. But reason number 2 is because if you have any little bit of activator left over on your nails, then you are going to ruin your top coat, or at the very least, your brush from your top coat. So I always get a clean napkin when I'm ready for my top coat. Make sure it's clean, because you want to make sure you don't wipe your brush onto anything that could contaminate it. And get a lint-free wipe and wipe your nails. So, so good. I sometimes like to actually get alcohol. Oh, and here it goes. So get some alcohol on your lint-free wipe and then wipe that over your nails. The goal here is to try to get any remaining activator off of your nails so that it's not still there when we take our top coat and the brush touches your nail. So with dip powder, it really is a science. Figuring out when to put the top coat on is very important. It's a science. Your top coat won't dry. It won't be smooth. It won't be amazing if you don't do it just right. So after you wipe it with alcohol, I always take a dry lint-free wipe and then just dry my nails to make sure it's totally dry. Now it's time for the top coat. Again, I'm using Double Dip. I do love this brand of top coat. It's super, super shiny, and it does dry very, very quickly. But I will tell you, I've ruined many brushes in the past. So I know what I'm doing now, but I will tell you, if you are new or beginning, you're probably going to ruin a couple of brushes. So make sure whatever brand you use, you get some brush cleaner. So for your first layer, you want to start off with a very thin layer. And I'll show you here. Oh, there we go. Very thin layer. I don't have much on my brush, but you want to go in and you want to go as quickly as possible. Don't worry about making it perfect. Literally 3 swipes and you're done. 1, 2, 3, and be done. Okay, don't be like me. And then wipe your brush. The reason that you wipe your brush is because if there is any activator on your nail still, you don't want to stick it back into the jar or into the bottle and contaminate the rest of your liquid. So get that top coat on as quickly as you can and just wipe your brush and then let it sit for a couple of minutes before you go in with your second coat. So how do you know when you're ready to go in for your second coat? Well, I'm going to tell you, because if you look closely at your nails, you're going to see that it looks like it's starting to shrink or like your nails are wrinkling. That's what you're looking for. Once the top coat starts to shrink on your nail, then you can go in for your second coat. It really truly is a science, I'm telling you. So something else I just want to make mention of. If you're thinking, oh, well, I'll just go in and do my top coat tomorrow or hours from now. While you certainly can do that, you're not going to have the desired effects that you want because the top coat needs the activator to dry. So you really want to make sure that you get this part right. So you can kind of see there now, very, very, very little bit like my nail was shrinking. You can rewind the video if you need to, but it's just starting to get tighter on the nail. Kind of like shrink wrap. If you've ever looked at shrink wrap, how it starts to like shrink. And now for your second layer, this is where you can really take your time and be more detailed. Get all of the nail, the entire nail, any part that you missed, get as close to your cuticle as possible, and then cap your edge. You always want to make sure that you cap your edge. It's a much better finished off look, but it also just kind of seals everything together. If you get any on your skin, just wipe it off. And hopefully you guys saw how I wiped my brush before I put it back in the bottle. Make that a habit. Always, 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 always. So I know that I just did the top coat on the nail that was not the chunky glitter, but that's okay. I cut everything else out during the video, but I think this part is so super important that it's good for you to see it twice. And just make sure that you really take your time, get that top coat on there, and cap your edge. And wipe your brush. And also, as a side note, always make sure that you close your bottles tightly. You don't want any air to get in there because that can also ruin your liquids. And if you notice that you start to get gunk on the side of your bottles, take some acetone and a wipe and just wipe around the neck of the bottle so that they don't stick together and end up gluing shut. I've had that happen before too, and it's definitely not fun trying to get your bottle to open. So after we do our last layer of top coat, then it is time to show our cuticles some love. Always, 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 you want to show your cuticles some love after you've beat them up. I got this cuticle oil from Amazon. It smells so good and it is lasting me forever. But I use so much cuticle oil. And you want to make sure that you put it on every time you do your nails. After every manicure, put some cuticle oil on. And you should really be putting it on a couple times a day, but I know who has time for that, right? So make sure that your top coat is dry before you put the cuticle oil on, because the cuticle oil, of course, can ruin your manicure if it's not dry. I put so much on, I lather it on. I know it's probably excessive, the amount that I use, but I kind of don't care because I really need my cuticles to be moisturized and to not be dry. So I obviously cut some of that out because I don't think you needed to see me rub my cuticle oil all over my fingers. The last and final step to make your nails look beautiful is take a lint-free wipe and just wipe the cuticle nail off, or the cuticle polish, oh my gosh, cuticle oil off of your nails. And there we have it. What do you guys think? How to dip with chunky glitter. It's not that hard once you kind of know what you're doing, or at least some tips and tricks. Now that you know how to dip with chunky glitter, the sky is literally the limit. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.